This is The Narrative versus the Truth. With me, Jason Seiler. We hear a lot about how, even though the big oil companies make so much money, they get tax subsidies from the government. The narrative is that big oil pays off our politicians to get special treatment in our tax code. The Democrats and the media have been repeating this narrative for years, and it's been really effective. My father, a Tea Party conservative, once repeated it to me. He said, "I'm not against the oil companies, but they should not get a handout from the government. They should not have an advantage over the people investing in solar and wind technology." I said, "Dad, they don't." When I explained it to him, he was pretty surprised that he had fallen for the narrative. To the left, the big oil companies are the bad guys, so they'll say whatever they have to say to stop them. However, they won't stop using their products, and that says a lot. It really shows just how important oil, and the companies that supply us with it, truly are. Beyond the energy it provides, oil is used in many other ways. Petroleum, which is made from crude oil, is in nearly everything you own. From the outfit you're wearing to the phone you're watching this video on, big oil had a role in making them. Do you use toothpaste? Sleep on a pillow? Does your kid use crayons? Do you wear lipstick? Or maybe your wife? Then you are benefiting from big oil. The list is gigantic because, like I said, petroleum is in almost everything you own. The left have created a narrative that our government gives big oil special tax subsidies. So, what is a tax subsidy? It's essentially when the government gives a certain company or industry money to help them do their job. This could be in the form of grants or rebates, or it could be in the form of special tax breaks. In 2010, a study by Global Subsidies Initiative compared global subsidies for different energy sources and found that renewable energy companies got 6 times the amount in subsidies than did the oil industry. And it's probably higher now. You see, the tax subsidies that oil companies get are what all businesses get. If you invest money into your business, you get to write that off on your taxes. Every small business owner in America knows that. When oil companies dig wells that don't end up having any oil in them, or they buy equipment, they get to write those expenditures off. And why shouldn't they be allowed to? It's money they've invested into their business. The fact of the matter is that the oil industry essentially gets the same tax breaks that other industries get, like the foreign tax credit that allows companies to deduct any taxes they pay in other countries, or the domestic manufacturing deduction that incentivizes companies to maintain their operations in the U.S., or tax deferment, which a lot of big companies do. These aren't just for oil companies, and actually, big oil, the companies like BP and Exxon, don't get all the tax breaks that other companies get. Small independent oil producers get what's called a depletion allowance. It's a way for them to reduce the value of an oil reserve by 15% every year. The big guys don't get that break. You know what the sad part of this narrative is? It's not that oil companies are shamed for providing us with the best energy source on the planet. No, the sad part is the fact that in states like California and New York, the people at the bottom of the income ladder, you know, the ones that Democrats tell us they care so much about, have to pay over 70 cents in taxes per every gallon of gas they buy. That's more than $10 every time they fill up their tanks. In comparison, the oil companies only make around 7 cents on every gallon they sell. So our government makes anywhere from 6 to 10 times more on a gallon of gas than do the oil companies. But not only that, then our government gives thousands of dollars in rebates and tax credits to anyone who buys a brand new electric car. Now, think about how unfair that is. A guy living paycheck to paycheck, a single mom who's barely getting by, your neighbor who recently lost their job, those are the people paying these high taxes on gas, while the guy who can afford to buy a brand new car gets free money. It's kind of outrageous. That's hundreds of dollars a year coming out of the pockets of the people who can least afford it, and thousands of dollars going into the pockets of people doing well enough that they can afford to buy a brand new car. The energy that oil has provided for the world has made it possible for billions of people to rise out of poverty. And when there's still billions more trying to get out, Democrats want to make it harder for them. And so many regular folks have been convinced that CO2 will destroy the planet that they're willing to sacrifice the lives of the billions who are still in poverty. And they don't even realize it. If you ask them straight up, do you think the poor should pay for the rich to drive electric cars? They would emphatically say no, but they don't think of it that way because of the narrative. And it's never just one narrative. Do you remember when President Obama said that we can't drill our way to lower gas prices, as if the laws of supply and demand don't work on oil? Just this weekend, oil facilities in Saudi Arabia were attacked, knocking out half of their oil capacity, and gas prices are shooting up dramatically right now. Which proves that what Obama told us was just another false narrative to keep gas prices high. You know, Democrats would prefer gas prices to be $20 a gallon. Heck, many of them would prefer to get rid of cars altogether. We saw what the Green New Deal has in store for plane travel. It would be naive to think that their plan stops there. The left will never be satisfied, and they'll never stop trying to control you and everything you do. They have brainwashed so many people with their narrative about climate change that people can't even think for themselves. Do you remember this?
Talk about something else that's falling from the sky, and that is an asteroid. What's coming our way? Is this an effect of perhaps global warming, or is this just some meteoric occasion?
She is so convinced that the world is doomed because of climate change that she wondered aloud if a meteor tumbling through space is because of big oil. And they've lost all perspective on how much of their wonderful world has been made possible by fossil fuels. And it's all due to the narratives that are pushed to try to bring down the oil companies. Now, there are a couple more things I'd like to point out. 10.3 million Americans work in the oil and gas industry, and Elizabeth Warren and the big government types want to give them a reason to take a trip to the unemployment office. They talk about retraining them to work in some other field as if you can easily find good jobs for that many people. And finally, as good as it may feel for an environmentalist to see people driving electric cars, don't they know where the electricity is likely coming from? You guessed it, big oil. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.